Court by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff, and we have some important injury updates to touch on today for Trae Rosier and Nikola Jovic. And the Heat actually got some good news on the two of them as they have been working through injury the entire offseason. Specifically, Trae Rosier, if you remember, missing the entire playoff series last year against the Boston Celtics with that neck injury. But the good news is on both fronts here because Trae Rosier and Nikola Jovic both spoke to Miami Heat media members on Wednesday this week, and both said that they will be ready for the start of training camp, which begins on October 1st in the Bahamas. Quick little, scheduling for Miami Heat. They are going to have the media availability on September 30th, and then they will go to the Bahamas and start training camp on October 1st. We'll have you covered on that, so make sure you are subscribed. And if we're going to be honest here, folks, we're going to have the best coverage on YouTube surrounding the Miami Heat. So make sure you are subscribed. We're currently at 13,670 subscribers. The goal is 14K before the season tips off in late October against the Orlando Magic. So help us out. Hit that sub button because we're going to have you covered on everything Miami Heat this upcoming season. All right, let's start more specifically with a Trae Rosier update because he did speak to the media, and he said in an interesting kind of tidbit here that he is yet to be cleared. He has not participated in 5-on-5 activities this offseason. He's just about to get to that point, but he has done every single basketball activity this offseason, including some 3-on-3 work, but just simply has not done 5-on-5, which to me was a little interesting. I think it's good news that he said he's going to be able to go for training camp, but I mean, this entire Trae Rosier situation was a little strange because he has that neck injury. You're thinking, maybe he just slept wrong, stiff neck, nothing to really be concerned here. And then all of a sudden, he misses the end of the regular season, misses the final 2 weeks, doesn't play in a single postseason game in that first round series against the Celtics where the Heat lost in 5. And then we are still 4 or 5 months later, just a couple weeks before training camp begins for Miami in October 1st, and he is still not participating on 5-on-5 work this offseason. It's a very odd situation occurring with Trae Rosier. It seems to be close to its resolution, but I still find it very strange that it took this long for him to get back into 5-on-5 goals. Now, specifically on when that will happen, Rozier did speak about that, saying that I figure in the next couple weeks I'll be graduating to 5-on-5. I feel great. So as long as his body feels good and in his one-on-one training and activities, 3-on-3 this offseason, there is no setbacks with that neck injury. Maybe they're just taking it a little bit slower just to make sure that he is going to be 100% healthy for training camp in the regular season because we are realistically, folks, only 6 weeks away from getting started in the October 20th, I think it is, like 24th, 25th, 23rd. I forget when the first actual game is, but it's going to be really close, man. And this is important for Miami because Rozier is as important as it comes to the Heat's success this season. And I'm not just saying that. He is very, very key to the Heat reaching their goals this year because when you think of what Miami did to acquire Rozier, they traded the expiring contract of Kyle Lowry and a future first-round pick in 2027 with a top 10 protection, yes, but they still traded a first-round pick to get Rozier, add him to this roster because Miami's organization and front office felt he could be the missing piece, at least in terms of adding offensive output in that backcourt. So he is someone who played really well down the stretch last year before his injury, and Miami is going to need him to do that again this year if they want to reach the goal of an NBA championship. I'm still not so sure that he is going to be able to help Miami win a championship, but he at least is going to have to play a large role. We do know that for 100% certainty. We're going to get into more here just coming up in just a second, but what are your expectations for Trae Rosier in 23-24? He had a solid end to his Heat tenure before going on the injury spot, but let me know your expectations for Rosier in 24-25. He needs to play a large role, and we've kind of been very open about this, at least in this episode, but also prior in the offseason, about him having to be someone that is key for this Heat team, whether it's being a sixth man, whether it is the starting point guard role alongside Hero or alongside someone else in that backcourt. All we know for 100% certainty is that he is going to need to play a large role for this team. He played extremely well down the stretch, averaging 16 points per game, 4.2 assists, 4.2 rebounds a game, shooting 44% from the field and 37% from three, which if we're going to be honest, is really impressive considering the first 10 games he played in a Heat uniform. He was shooting under 25% from three, under 40% from the field. Like, he was off to a terrible start in the 305, but then was able to correct it and show why the Heat ended up trading Lowry in a first-round pick for him, and he is going to have to do it again for this Heat team, whether it's in that six-man role or actually in the starting lineup. All right, we're going to transition over to Nikola Jovic up here in just a second, but we do got to give a major shout-out to Prize Picks, who is sponsoring today's show. Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America with more than 5 million active members. And unlike other daily fantasy sports apps, you don't play other people, you just play the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can watch the winnings roll up to 100 times your money right now with as little as 4 correct entries. And they have a really cool deal in the football world right now. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right, only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. There's still 3 more weeks of free W's to go out and collect. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. And another reason why I love Prize Picks is because they let you customize the way you play. You want to do daily fantasy across different sports like baseball, football, basketball. You can. You want to do season-long projections. You can. Like my current total right here of Bam Adebayo, more than 9.9 rebounds per game, more than 6.8 assists per game for Jalen Brunson, and less than 10.2 points per game for the #1 overall pick, Zachary V. Sachet. That's why Prize Picks the best, because you can customize the way you play. So get started with Prize Picks today. Download the app and use code CLNS when you use a new account and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play 5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. That link will be in the description and comments of today's show. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, let's transition over to a Nikola Jovic injury update now because he also has been dealing with an injury this entire offseason. And his was a little bit more intriguing because there was a lot of speculation on if he sprained an ankle, he fractured an ankle, and how that impacted him at the Olympics because he didn't play that much for Serbia, but they still took home the bronze. And when Jovic was actually on the floor, he didn't really get that much work, and he didn't get that much of a workload, and he just didn't look like himself out there. Well, Jovic did provide this update on himself, saying, I would say that I'm almost fully healthy. Of course, there's a little ligament that still has to be 100%. So he isn't 1,000% healthy right now. He kind of is making it feel like he's basically right there, just isn't across the finish line. But I got to be honest, I'm really bummed that he did not end up getting a full healthy offseason. This was going to be a huge pathway for him to develop even more as a player. Think about it. If he stayed fully healthy, he was going to be likely a starter next to Nikola Jovic on the Serbian national team at the Olympics, playing against the world's best, playing alongside the best player in the NBA, working 9 to 5, getting that game in, which only would have benefited him for Miami and his ability to play next to Bam Adebayo. It's such a bummer that he did not get a healthy offseason because he really hasn't had a healthy offseason his entire career so far. I mean, just think about it. He didn't play year one, had a little bit of an injury last year, but also had to deal with the trade rumors with Damian Lillard. And then this year, cementing his starting role on this team, not able to get full work in the offseason due to rehabbing this ankle injury. Obviously, it wasn't bad enough to keep him out of the Olympics, which is a good thing. Just in general, that he was still able to be there in practice, hanging out with Nikola Jovic, picking his brain. But it is a bummer that he didn't get a full healthy offseason. More on Nikola Jovic here. He said that they told me it would take a little bit more time, but it shouldn't be an issue. Basically, I'm 100%. So he's kind of alluding to the fact where he's not 100%, but he's also saying he is, which means he's likely like in that 90%, 95% range, which means he'll likely get to 100% right at the beginning of training camp or in the middle of training camp, which puts him on a good pathway to be actually 100% for the Miami Heat starting when the season begins in late October against the Orlando Magic. So I don't think I'm that concerned about Jovic. It's just a bummer that he was not able to get a full healthy offseason himself, but it doesn't seem like this injury will linger much longer. Let me know, though, are you concerned about Nikola Jovic in that injury that he has had this entire offseason. Be honest for me. If you're concerned, type Y for yes. If you're saying, nah, I never was, type N for no. All right, one last note here on Nikola Jovic. We did talk about how if it was a normal sprain, if it was a fractured ankle, in terms of this injury that has sidelined him for the Olympics at times, but also forced him to rehab. He said that it was partially at a fracture. In quotes, I had a fracture. Now, is it a completely fractured ankle? No. I think it was pretty much sprained, but there was one little bone or whatever you want to call it in his ankle that was slightly fractured. So it was a mix of a sprain and a fracture for Jovic. But like I said, it's really not anything to be concerned about right now at this point because he said he's close to 100%. He said he's going to be ready for training camp. And if he's telling you he's going to be ready, I believe he's going to be ready. And you're both going to have Nikola Jovic and Trae Rosier for game one, and assuming they don't get hurt again during training camp for that home game against the Orlando Magic. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Appreciate everyone who has watched this show. And if you're watching still and not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We are going to have daily content on the Miami Heat, news, rumors, watch parties when the games begin. I cannot wait for the season to get back in the swing a month from now. So hit that sub button and join us here at the Heat Report because we are going to have a lot of fun this upcoming year, as we always do.